All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Pistolka, and I am excited today because we have Pete Armstrong here today. We are going to be talking about helping men become the people they want to be. Pete, thanks for being here today.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for the smile.
It's awesome. It's awesome. You know what? I I tell you what, Pete, from the first time I met you, I knew I wanted to have you on the show because I'm going to tell you, I'm one of those people that has gone through a serious life transformation, not some because I wanted to, some because I didn't want to, some because of life. But I know myself, a lot of people around me, a lot of men around me, career driven, hard driven people are can be incredibly successful in the workplace
Mm,
and incredibly miserable on the backside.
mm,
And it just sucks that we got people that have that
mm,
think that that's the way it has to be.
mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad that we connected. I'm glad you saw something in me, and I saw something in you, and I learned so much about you the first time we chatted, and it's just I'm excited for where this conversation is going to go, and I sincerely thank you for this opportunity.
yeah, yeah. Well, I tell you what, Pete, the way we like to start things off is we always like to get a little background of how you got into helping men uncover their blind spots and improve their relationships and really see them how they can live a fuller life.
Man, thank you. I mean, really, it was through uncovering my own blind spots first,
Yep.
and I think what really set me off on this career, uh, the final like kind of nudge was I went through divorce in 2020
Yeah.
during COVID, and I was going through divorce, and I was like, you know what? This is the second basically failed marriage I've had. I have 3 children with 2 different women, and I was like, the commonality here is me. I'm the common theme, right? And so I was like, okay, I know I'm a good dude. I know I'm a good person. I'm learning to love myself. I've taken, I'm free of pornography and casual sex for like 10 years. And in the marriage, I was free for like 5 or 6 years. So, like, I've taken things out of my life that have helped me get into a marriage and have a decent relationship. Um, but what I was experiencing, I was just like, as I started getting to know myself better in that marriage, I was kind of like, no, I want more. I want something different. And so we had a conscious uncoupling, or whatever you want to call it. We mutually agreed we're going to go through divorce. But really, when I started looking at it, I was like, how did I get into this marriage? And how do I never get into this type of relationship again?
Yeah.
Because yes, it was hard on me, right? But it was hard on my kids, my beautiful children. And I love being a dad. And my 2 older kids, my ex-wife was their stepmom. The stuff they shared with me, Damon, was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The gist is like, right, I didn't listen to them. I didn't listen to, my
Yeah.
ex-wife. And what does that mean to a kid? They internalize that as like they're not worthy, right? And so yeah, and then that was like this deep dive when we started going through divorce. And then I also was like, you know what? I'm gonna take alcohol out of my life too. I took the pornography, the sex, all that kind of stuff about 10 years ago, 10 years plus, whatever. Alcohol, even though I don't use it, like I'm not a fall down drunk, high performer, showing up to work,
Yeah.
but I just kind of knew the way I was using it was kind of to better manage stress and probably some childhood pain and stuff of the past. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take alcohol out of my life for 1 year. see what happens. I was just curious about it.
Yeah.
See what happens. And starting up, I called it a sobriety tour. I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know where I'm going to end up. But with pure curiosity and just to see what was going to happen, I would say those things really set me off on this path, was like taking out alcohol and exploring my pain and my struggle and getting help, therapy, coaching, training, reading books. Like I didn't understand for a long time the way I felt inside about myself, like going to places and not feeling like I belonged, and I was, was rooted in shame. I kind of heard of this thing, shame, but after I read this book by Brene Brown called The Gifts of Imperfection, I was like, did she write this book for me? I was like, this is gross. So that's what I've been feeling for 40 years of my life, right? This
Yeah.
thing. And so just, and so that's the gist, is like I did my own work. And even before my divorce, I had 5-6 years of therapy. I had anxiety, I had addiction, I had depression, childhood, rough childhood, parents got divorced, the whole nine. And I just coped with drugs and alcohol and sex,
Yeah.
kind of like a lot of guys do. But when I started taking these things out of my life and getting to know myself and understanding how the mind works and why I was doing what I was doing, I started empathizing with myself that, hey man, you've been struggling. It's been hard being you. And it was like, I just started like forgiving myself and getting to know myself and really having a little more compassion for my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, I mean, all the way from beginning to end of childhood, coming through, me being a bit older, I don't fault my parents, but they, a lot of parents are woefully prepared to help raise kids, first of all. And I don't fault anyone, because everyone does the best they can. But with all the stuff that we know now, I mean, it's insane what we know now compared to what we knew decades ago. And it's also insane to think that a parent can know all this stuff before they have a child. But the good part about it is, I think that there is help available for people. We a lot of men don't get help, and that's the thing that I feel just really torn when I see people that are high performers at work. You've seen them, they're driving, they're doing their thing, and you look beyond that and you realize it's just a lot of it is just a garbage trail of, I'm surviving. Even if I've got a nice house, even if I've got, the money stuff that comes along, that success brings, that, but they're still empty. And I just, that's the thing that I think is cool about you helping men find this, because there are so many people that it's that way, in varying degrees, obviously.
Yeah. And yes. And here's the thing, with all, addictions, you want to call it, bad habits, unhealthy coping, it doesn't matter if it's alcohol, pornography, sex, smoking pot, or building a business or striving in your career.
Yep.
You're getting something from it. It's actually helping you. Alcohol helped me. Pornography helped me. For short term, for a little bit, right? Yep. There's consequences to those things, though. And yes, the costs often are far greater than the benefits. The challenge is for men that are successful in the career or in their business is they're applauded for their efforts. And so that in itself helps you feel good about yourself, right? We can get down to the psychology of all that, but we don't need to do that. They're getting something from this, right? And not all men, as far as what I've experienced, they didn't know that they were doing this. They kind of know that they're getting applauded and it's helping them feel good about themselves. But they don't fully know that. And they don't realize that maybe deep down, they actually don't believe in themselves. They don't feel they're worthy. They didn't feel loved by their dad, their mom. And guess what? This thing is filling that hole. But the challenge with it, man, it's you're going to keep needing it. You're going to keep needing it. You're going to keep needing it. Because those holes, man, those gaps, that pain, those wounds, so to speak, that some men know are there. Some men don't even have any idea because they're subconscious. They got to keep performing because they feel that little bit of discomfort and like fear, anxiety, not enoughness, whatever it is. And they got to ante up again, right? They got to make the next dollar. They got to make the next sale. And unfortunately, that is keeping them alive. When you say survival, you say they're in survival mode, and literally they are. We can get down to the science of it. Their nervous system literally is in sympathetic dominant state, meaning like they're in fight or flight, right? And they're literally trying to survive. And they don't fully know it. You know? But unfortunately, this is a good point. I was talking to a guy, he owns a gym, doing great, killing it. You know, he's 40 years old. We're most likely going to work together. Great dude. He's done very well for himself. And I was talking to him, and I'm like, hey, let's do some breathing. And he's very smart about the body. And he was like, why do we want to calm down? And I'm like, well, in order to connect, you and I to connect and help you uncover what are some of the things that you're struggling with, we need to regulate your nervous system. So we need to get into a more parasympathetic state, which basically just means we need to be able to tell our body and our mind to chill out and relax. And he's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, well, if you're coming to me with the struggle is your marriage, killing it everywhere else, right? But it's your marriage, and you feel like an island, and you feel alone, and you feel rejected, you feel betrayed, and you're not able to fully share that with your wife. In order for you to, because in some way, shape, or form, the root of it is fear. And if you have that fear, I believe, like, I'm going to get rejected, she's not going to, whatever it is, right? The body is going to be in that state of survival.
Yeah.
So if you're in the state of survival and you're in the woods, you're being chased by a tiger, are you going to slow down and have, a nice calm conversation with your buddy? No, or your wife?
Yeah.
You're trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to teach men is like, hey, listen, if you want to really genuinely connect with your spouse, your kids even, right? Or be present at home, or even with your team at work, you got to regulate your nervous system. You got to do the breath work. You have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you have to slow down. And that is very difficult for men to do, especially high achieving, career driven men. It's very difficult because society teaches us we can't be happy. And I'm not saying you need to sit and cry and be sad. That is not what I'm saying. Crying's good. Just suggests you have some emotions that need to be released. I feel like I'm talking a little bit too much, but
no, this is good because I'm writing down. I guess if I wanted to let you finish your thoughts there, because really, first of all, I want to say Harry's in here today. I want to say thanks for being here today, Harry. Love that you're listening. And if anyone else is out there listening, drop a comment in here and we can ask Pete some questions if you want, or just connect with Pete after this to talk with him. But you bring up a good point. We're in this fight or flight mode. We don't even realize it. We're out there just trying to keep go hard. Our relationships might not be working well. We're not doing this. What are some ways that we can break this cycle? I mean, you started a little bit there. What is a way, like, if I'm sitting here listening to this today and I go, I just want to break the cycle for a second so I can think.
Dude, I have something right now, and I'm going to invite you and I to do it right now together.
Okay.
Be open?
Yeah.
It's just going to be breathing. We're just going to do some intentional breathing, and then I'm going to ask you a question or two after.
Okay.
Because if I just tell you and tell your listeners, hey, this is what you do. I hate to say this, but how to. How to, we all know how to, but most people don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, we know sleep is the foundation of well-being. How come you're not prioritizing your sleep? So so for you and I, let's do a little breathing.
All right, let's do it.
Those listening or watching, do it with us. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, if you're willing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take off my glasses. Sit with a straight spine. And right now I've been talking, so I've actually, because I've been talking, technically I'm out of breath. So what I need to do right now is just breathe. And so you and I together, we're just going to do a little quiet, and let's just do like 5 or 6 intentional breaths. And what that's going to look like, Damon, is a 4-second inhale through the nose and a 5-second exhale through the mouth. And that's all we're going to do is like 5 or 6 of those just to kind of calm us down. Let's
Okay.
begin. Try to use your belly to breathe in the inhale. Let's do 2 more. If you're willing, Damon, keep your eyes closed, and I just want you to connect with your inner experience. For example, right now, like, what do you notice might be a little different now that we did a little intentional breathing?
When I do this, I always feel I feel a lot of warmth and peace when I do it.
Where would you describe that in your body,
Oh, it's definitely in my chest.
in your chest?
Mm-hmm.
And so you feel warmth right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to just, what is it trying to tell you? Now it feels warmth and peace. If you were to connect to that, actually, I know this sounds interesting, but this is what I would love for your listeners to try to do more often is, what is that warmth and peace now trying to tell you?
We should do more of this.
Yeah. And if you were even to connect with the way in which you felt prior to the warmth and peace, this might be a little trickier, but what was that feeling, that sensation in your body telling you? What was it trying to communicate?
Yeah, throughout the day, you really feel yourself taking off with the work that you're trying to do and those kind of things. And, and all there is anxiety, there's frustration, there's worry, whatever you want to call it. And to me, breathing helps me bring that back to a center that allows me to go, okay, now let's really look at this. Let's separate my mind, what my mind is telling me, from reality, and try to throw the garbage out. Because your mind, I mean, me anyway, chronic worrier. And I thought from the time I started my professional career running places that was my job, to be the one that worries and frets, and because that will get things done. And you have to understand that is a waste of time, and it's a waste of your effort.
But I'll pause you right here. What does the anxiety and worrying help you with?
I don't know. Not anymore. I don't
There's
know.
some sort of, and this is, I don't want to say coach you, but I'm trying to help people understand.
Yeah.
The one way to connect to the anxiety is to connect your body.
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel it off, the anxieties in the chest. And that's the first way that men can start to understand, is to start connecting to their bodies, which they haven't done for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And the breath is one way to help you regulate your nervous system, calm the anxiety, and help you connect to that feeling.
Yeah.
And so when you ask, how do we do it? We just did it.
Yep. That's a great example. And I'm glad you brought that up. And by no means was I planning to bring this up, because this is one of the things that I too have worked on over the last few years, is to really understand how breath helps. And I think what it does for me personally is, like I said, all the other things I said about myself prior, all that good stuff. But what it does, as I just mentioned, is if you do that, if you just take that moment in the whatever situation you're in. So you're in a situation, just say you're in business and something happens, or you're in a situation where you're with your spouse or friends or something, it's not going well. If you can take a few deep breaths right there, the power that it gives you, and I don't mean a power from but the power that it gives you to help you really think about something clearly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, and I think what you're talking about there is that pause, that resetting your mind is so important. And we're not taught to do that, I don't think.
So it is resetting your mind, but it's resetting your nervous system. And this is important, because when you talk about anxiety, that is rooted in fear, and fear is an emotion. I've been talking often lately, we're human. We're human first, meaning we have emotions. And so we do reset the mind, but the cool thing you're doing is when you're breathing, you're actually resetting your nervous system, which is telling your body and your mind that you're okay, that you're safe.
Yeah.
Is that interesting?
That's the feeling.
And I know men are like, I feel safe. No. It's like, well, my point is, but the cool thing is, we just did it very intentional. I took off my glasses. I guided you a little bit. I guided me. When you were talking, I was breathing. So you're spot on. Like, you can do this in a business meeting. You can do this with your partner. Like when your wife, your romantic partner is triggered, she's angry, your nervous system is going to want to do the same. It's going to want to protect you. But if you can help your body and your mind understand, and this is for men too, like, hey, this is how I'm going to relax and calm myself so I can respond in a healthy, productive manner. Not burying your emotions, that doesn't help either. Excuse me, it does help. Not long term though.
Yes. Yes.
But it does help because if you bury it, you can kind of get on, right?
Yeah.
You can't rationalize an emotional problem. The emotional problem's still going to be there. You can rationalize it; it'll go away for a temporary period, but it's going to resurface. And so, and I get excited about this. So I don't want to keep talking about it, but I think what you've experienced with the breath is one way that I encourage men to do it on the way home. Like when I go drive home or I'm riding my bike, I'm breathing on the way home because I'm sure my 16-year-old son might have not done the dishes or he didn't cut the grass or,
Yeah.
you know, he left the cereal bowl out or whatever stupid thing it is. It just helps me respond better. And then it's just kind of cool, man. You have better days. You have better nights with the fam. You have greater intimacy with the people you love. And that's what we want. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what we want? Like, if family life isn't right, it just, I don't know, man. I feel like if family life and home life isn't right, I don't know. Life just doesn't seem.
Well, it's pretty hard having one-sided life. I mean, I've lived it, not currently, but I did prior, and and it is something that it's hard to do. It's hard to do.
It's hard. It is hard. It's very difficult. I lived that life for a long time too, and I think it's hard because, again, we're human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go back to this idea: HU capitalize MEN, and even though we're men, we were designed for relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Humans are designed for a relationship. It doesn't matter what spirituality you align with. If you look at all spiritualities, or even if you're agnostic, like we're designed to connect. We're designed for connection. And when we don't have that connection with the people we really desire it, like the people we love, our children, our parents, our spouses, our romantic partners, there's going to be a longing and yearning and pain within us that you can avoid. You can numb out through alcohol. You can, distract through overachieving. But at the end of the day, man, the only way to really solve that, tend to it, is to get to know what's going on with you and why you do what you do. And what I've experienced is, you can get that in therapy or coaching, maybe even some beautiful mentorships or some masterminds. But what I've experienced, there's a big gap, and men being able to express how they truly, what it's like being them. Not like, how they feel. I'm not going to go in that direction, but what it's like being them. And most men haven't connected to that part of them. Like I had a guy the other day, he was telling me, he's like, I feel like an island. I feel like an island at home, and I feel like an island in my business. Because he doesn't have some of the emotional fitness that is required to better connect with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he also doesn't have the, for lack of a better word, courage to share the way in which he's feeling about a situation with some of his team, giving feedback, whatever it is, right? And like, he's like, I feel like I'm on an island, and I don't know, I have no help. And so it's like, I'm telling you, it's honestly, Damon, it's there are a lot of men who feel this way, and it's getting in their way of their relationships, and it's getting in their way of their well-being. And when men are happier and they have better relationships, in my opinion, they're going to be better leaders. They're going to have greater impact. They're just, I think it's just by design,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that if you, as we talked about, and I want to talk about this a little bit, to get from where someone say today, I'm not happy with myself, my situation, whatever that might be, in the way, the way we've been talking about here. What are some of the things that you see and you're talking about, it could be masterminds, could be or coaching or mentorship sessions or whatever it is that helps them. But we talked about breathing, but what are some resources, things they could think about, things they could, I mean, just to take that first step, because we're all scared of this as men, right? We're like, okay, I don't want to be seen the guy that, that's going to be, first one out of the water or whatever you want to talk about. But at the end of the day, it's worth it to take some little steps and see what we can do beyond. I mean, breathing was great here and those kind of things, but what suggestions you have for people that's like, listen, if you don't feel like this, here's a couple ideas.
Damon, I have ideas. I'll give you something, but you just said it's worth it, right?
What's that?
You just said it's worth it doing this type of work.
Oh, yes.
Or moving, right?
Oh, yeah.
So would you be willing to share a little bit, a small little something that someone who has been in your position, or excuse me, is in your position in the business world, you've done some of this work. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
How come what's something for you? Because men love story. They like testimonials. They want something relatable. What is something you've gotten from doing the work?
Well, I can tell you, you don't have to have a bad home life and be very driven and have a great business. And I'll tell you, I grew up thinking that it's a dichotomy, right? You're gonna have one or the other, and that's not the case. If you're sitting out there, someone's out there listening today, they think, man, I got to do this. This business needs me. I got to do this for my family. I got to do this, but it's going like hell at home, but I got to do it because I need to provide for my family. That's bullshit. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yes.
And
you're experiencing that.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. And it's not big steps. You and other people that can help with the kind of coaching and things that are available for these men, they can learn how to put in the work that they need to at their career, their business, whatever, and then put some of that same effort into their relationship that allows that to be so much better. And they're going to go, I'm doing what I was doing at my career or business or whatever, almost the same as I was yesterday, but my home life's a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. I bet you a little bit, the response or the result of that is a little happier.
Yeah. I mean, because it is, I mean, there's nothing going to overcome the fact that if you're going to work 22 hours a day, for long periods of time, it's not going to, relationships don't work like that. You got to get past that. But what I'm saying is that I've seen the difference between, I thought divorce was normal if I was going to run companies. It was a fact of life.
And that's a belief.
It's a belief. I thought it was a fact of life.
It's a belief.
And it happened.
Yep.
Just like I thought it was going to happen. And I thought, because you have to work that hard look at the track record of business owners and CEOs. There's littered cases of divorce. It doesn't have to be like that.
No.
And that's the thing. And I'm just telling people here, it doesn't have to be like that. And that's why when you and I talked before, I was so passionate about having you come back on, because you're helping people that are driven like this, that are wanting to really do great things, have huge impact, and you want to show them how to get in touch with themselves and really interact and communicate well with their families and their friends and everything else, and live a full life rather than a one-dimensional life.
Yeah, man, this is good. Thank you for sharing. And this is hopefully helping men understand. And there's a couple things I want to share. One is here's something I want to tell. There's two reasons why I'm going to share this story. A lot of the men that I help, I'm going to tell you guys right now, that often Almost every guy I work with in some way, shape, or form did not feel fully loved by their mom or father. Either they knew it consciously, or through the work that I helped them with, they found out subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And they only were going to find that out because of this type of work. Because our subconscious thoughts, like here's an example of my story. My mom would, whenever I had an idea, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to start my business. Whatever it was, she thinks she's doing mom. She would criticize it. She's like, really? Are you going to do that? You're going to leave the university, that beautiful university with all the benefits, the pension, da 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 da, and you're going to start your business? I don't think that's a good idea. How I took that, my mom doesn't believe in me.
Yeah.
Men, whether we know it or not, subconsciously, we want our parents to believe in us. Because if someone believes in you, guess what's the root of that? Love.
Yep.
So subconsciously, Damon, after I did the work, I got a coach, right?
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, I felt like I wasn't being loved. So, but guess how I respond to that? With anger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's just a little antidote. But now I've better understood that. I've healed it. That's just my mom's stuff. I no longer have to believe that she doesn't love me. I know my mom loves me. For a long time, I didn't believe it. And she'll probably never fully love me the way I desire to be loved. I've grieved that. It's okay. The second thing I want to say about men is, if I just got done telling you that in many ways, the root problems have to do with your mom or dad, you not fully feeling like your mom or dad loved you, and you have kids, you need to start thinking about your kids. And listen, I'm not talking about like if your dad's my dad was an alcoholic, my mom was probably undiagnosed mental health issues, struggles, right? My dynamic. But a lot of the guys I work with, like their dads were a business owner. They came from a well-to-do family. And so I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be alcoholic. If a lot of men had great families, one guy came from a farm, like, you need to realize that a lot of these wounds come from childhood, and you can change your generational trajectory for your children by getting the help you need. And I have goosebumps right now, Damon, because man, listen, this is important. And here's the thing. This is the thing. I didn't do this for myself, the work I did. And because the reason why I did it when I was going through my divorce, I was like, you know what? I want to be a better dad, and I don't want my kids to feel the way they feel about themselves, like how I felt the majority of my life. And you know what happened? I went through this mental fitness training, and this is a little tool. They said, here, look at a picture of your younger self, like an 8-year-old version of little Peter, and try to have empathy with that for that little boy. I had a hard time connecting with that tool, that idea, because I had judgment of myself. But then I looked at a picture of my son at like 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who he looks like? Just like his dad.
Yeah.
And Damon, I said, if that little boy felt the way if he felt like me,
mm-hmm.
what would I do for him? What do you think I want to do for him if he felt the way I used to feel about myself?
Make it different.
I'd want nothing more but to hug him, love him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And give him support. Guess what? That's what I needed to do for myself. Because you would do it for your kids, and I promise you we need to do it for ourselves too. Because if you can learn to empathize with your struggle, your own thing,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The cool thing is that is part of the process to growth, healing, transformation, connecting to yourself. And the cool thing is when you're able to do that for yourself and grow in love and self-empathy and self-compassion and all these things, now you can pour that into your kids.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's the saying, like you can only give what you have. If you don't have that for yourself, it's really hard. And this is where men struggle. They feel like they just have to rationalize and logicalize.
Yeah.
And I understand why, but guess what? That's not connection.
Yeah.
And so I know I went on a little more intimate path.
But it's what, I mean, this is the thing though, that I think that you've uncovered some real important things for men to consider, because listen, nobody, like I said before, nobody was perfect parent, none of that. It doesn't matter where he came from, what the situation was. It starts inside of you, and then you can bring it out to your family, your friends, and your workplace and that kind of thing. Because if you can't get to that point, and Thane Isaacs, a friend of mine, says this a lot. He said, you can't act in a way that you don't, and I'm going to butcher it, you don't really feel is true for yourself. You can't act in a way that's inconsistent with how you feel about yourself. And that's I mean, when you think about what you just said, if you're not feeling like you were loved, or you're a good person, or you have empathy for yourself, it's so hard for you to do that consistently without so much effort to the people around you.
And really, why this is important work is because I just told you, like you want to help your kids feel secure in who they are as children. And men have this, kind of this, I just provide them with a good house, money, college tuition, be manly, teach our sons certain things, care for our daughters. But I'm going to tell you right now, again, we're human, our children, and there are a few things that we are required to feel loved, and that's to be seen, heard, and understood. What I mean by that is that your wife might be, have anxiety and afraid, and she's judging you, she's mad at you, whatever. You don't need to agree with her, but can you empathize with where she's coming from? If you can have empathy, meaning you feel that this is how she feels and you understand, the cool thing is you're connected with her. Now you can have a conversation. And that's the same with the kids. You can have a boy who's 12 years old start crying. And if you, or even a 5-year-old, you tell your 5-year-old that's crying because they're sad. I'm not talking about because they didn't get a cookie before dinner.
Yeah.
Because you got to be right. You got to set boundaries. That's love.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, if a kid's upset about something.
Yeah.
Telling them to go away and run away and go in your room. How does a child take that? It's like when I'm sad, I'm angry, I can't be around my parents. That means I can't be myself. Children don't know that. And so I share this with men too, because if we can help even our children, and I did not do this well with my 2 older kids.
Yeah.
No, because look at, man, I have 3 kids. I got an 18 and a 16. I did not do this that well with them. But now I have a 6-year-old. I have a 6-year-old as well. Now I'm able to empathize with her and sit with her and see her and understand her. And I'm telling you, it's like I feel like she's more emotionally intelligent than I am. But I think it's because I've helped her. I've been there for her, and she's taught me a lot, man. She's taught me so much about.
Yeah.
I'll stop there. I feel like I'm a little. I don't want to tell people what to do. I just want to kind of tell my story and help men understand and people understand that we have human needs, and it's often to be seen, understood, and heard. And I know, we think at 43, and I'm not sure how old you are, we still have them. We're going to have them the rest of our lives.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Well, Pete, it's been great having you on today. And, I just hope that people listening, we got some more comments. We had Michael talks about the disconnect with loved ones and colleagues during COVID. That was a tough thing. Pete said something else too. Do you believe the smartphone has dehumanized us at work, life, and from building healthy relationships?
Don't give me. We can have a whole nother live stream on the smartphones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The answer is yes. I think just a quick. Here's the challenge too. Again, help men who are struggling, with addiction, bad habits, unhealthy coping, right? And some men like the phone.
Yeah.
Scrolling on the phone is getting in the way of them being productive at work. Mm-hmm. Scrolling on the phone is getting in the way of connecting to their wives. And here's the thing. What are you getting from the scrolling of the phone? What are you getting from it? It's helping you with something. And most men are like, nothing. It's stupid. It's pointless. I'm just scrolling. I'm like, no. You're getting something from it.
Yeah.
It's helping you. There's a benefit there. And so I say that, because he has this beautiful question, is it getting in the way of our connection? Absolutely. Because if we are just doing this, we're not connected to ourselves. We're not connected to being where we are. Have you ever done that where you're 15 minutes on the phone, you're scrolling Instagram, Facebook, the whole nine, and then you're like, where am I?
It can happen. It can happen.
And so the answer is yes. The phones are a big problem. And I'll tell you this, I've been doing this for 10 years plus with my friends. When we go places, I'm like, hey guys, let's put the phone in a bucket or put no phones, man. Let's just connect.
Yeah.
And I get kickback sometimes, but
yeah.
What are you gonna do? Yep.
Good stuff. Well, Selena said, love the discussion, very open and raw. And she said, love it. And great. Yeah, it is. Michael talks about the dopamine, it's, and the people that develop the social media platforms and other things. I mean, they know what it's doing. And we know the feeling we get from it, whether we realize it or not. But it, the real thing that I like, and I'm glad we brought you on today, is because just to maybe get someone, maybe two people, to think about this, because it doesn't, their life doesn't have to be this way if they're not happy with the way it is. And you brought up so many good things. Our past has got stuff that's given us baggage, our choices, our upbringing, all that stuff, but it's not things that we can overcome.
100%. 100%. Takes work, like any overcoming, right? You're gonna get over a mountain, or you're gonna get through a swim or a hard bike ride or starting a business. It takes effort.
Yeah.
It takes work. It takes skills. It takes training. It takes practice. It takes doing the reps. And all this emotional stuff, some men just haven't done the work. It's not in a negative way, but like, how can you expect to be good at something if you haven't done it? Mm-hmm. Right? You just got to practice. You got to learn and understand. So there's often this thing I tell men, it's like, I'm stealing this from Gabor Mate, but it's like there's knowledge of self and there's self-knowledge. The self-knowledge is often the route like men like to do. They like to, let me go read this book, and then I'll figure it out, right? And you can get some self-knowledge from that. I didn't even read that whole book, but the one thing I like about that book is you got to be the first person sold on your product, your mission. But there's self-knowledge. You can get that in books, right? You can watch that on podcasts. But then there's a knowledge of self. And that's where the richness happens. And that is where you're learning about. You're getting to know you. And that's the work, in my opinion, that can only be done either with another person, like a trusted friend, a therapist, coach, a mentor. And that's where the magic happens, when you get to understand why you struggle, why you have pain, why you react in this way to this trigger in this relationship. That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess with that being said, I want to leave some people with some guys with a couple little next steps, because you did ask that question before, and I said breathing is good. A couple books, I would say Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection. She has a largely female audience, I think, women, but she's got some beautiful stuff in here about what it's to be human. The Gifts of Imperfection I really liked. I would say that's a good book for men. I have almost all my clients read it to start. Also, there's a book here. This is kind of more for men who have done probably some work already, but To Be a Man. That's a really good book. And then really at the end of the day, start following experts in men's work or relationships, and even if you can't follow them, just secretly watch what they're doing. Listen to podcasts. Podcasts are phenomenal. Rich Roll, I got a shirt on today. I love Rich Roll. Andrew Huberman, Peter Attia. Just names some two that men align with.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing with us today. Michael, thank you so much, Michael. You had a lot of comments. He was talking about smartphones, the dopamine, the addiction. And he talks about some other things here. Thanks so much for the comments. Really appreciate that. Pete, thanks so much for being here. We got to shut down for day, but I want to ask, if people want to get a hold of you, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Connect with me on LinkedIn. I think it's Pete J. Armstrong. It has Pete/R because some people call me Pete, some people call me Peter. So I'd say LinkedIn is a great place, or just email me, PeteInspires@gmail.com. And I love to just connect with men and talk about these things, or even women who maybe, just there is no strings attached to connect with me and to talk about these things. I love the help.
Awesome.
And so those are probably the two best ways.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here today. And again, we had Pete Armstrong here. Look him up on LinkedIn. And like you said, it's Pete/R Armstrong. And you can talk with him, connect with him. And it is, again, PeteInspired@gmail.com.
Pete Inspires.
Pete Inspires with an S at gmail.com.
Yes, at gmail.com.
You got that. And hey, we got George coming in. George says thanks as well.
You're welcome, brother.
Thanks for being here today. Hang out with me for a minute, Pete, and we will wind up offline.